that?
Well, once you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up. So good luck, okay? Good luck.
You say rock bottom, but, like, it just seems like things keep getting worse. What is rock bottom? Who decides what's the bottom of all this? I mean, seriously, you go, okay, today is Friday, and I woke up in Cleveland, and I'm going, how much worse can it get?
Don't count me down, you piece of shit! Shut your mouth! Look at me, Tony! Look at me! I want you to fire me! You fucking mark! Fire me! Fire me! How you think they gonna feel when they introduce your boys as the new WWE Undisputed Tag Team Champions? I don't know, Uce. They might be cheering. Yeah. They might be booing. Yeah. Little kids might be crying. Oh, yeah. We got grown men out there crying. Yeah. But they still might be hating on the Usos. Hating on us? Why? Because we went out there and did what we said we was going to do. Yeah.
Buffalo, all your babbling is interfering with my machine. So for the next few minutes, please just do me a favor and kindly shoot.
So we all have these voices in our head. We like to not listen to them. The one that comforts us and keeps us nice and warm and cuddly and gives us cookies and milk at nighttime and shit. We like that voice. That voice is the one we want to always hear, which is why people don't like to listen to me a lot. Some people do, some people don't. The only thing that changes you is being real. So basically, you know, I had to have the courage to go back in it because nothing was getting done. I kept on going to that nice, cuddly voice in my head saying, you know what? You don't need to do this. That's too much work, man. You've earned this. You deserve this. And that mentality got me to 297 pounds, fat, out of shape. To me, a loser. To me, making $1,000 a month and making a ton of mistakes. Because mistakes happen on the easy side of life. You take the easy road, the easy path, there's a lot of mistakes over there. The hard journey, you don't make too many mistakes over here because it's too hard. You don't want to repeat it. I want my mind to know who's in charge. So for the better part of 26 years, my mind was in charge of me, which is why I made all these horrible decisions. Once you take control of your mind, you start making decisions for yourself. This is your mind making decisions for you. A lot of us aren't prepared for life. We get up willy-nilly and just hope life is going to happen. It is going to happen, but it's going to happen with a prepared mind or an unprepared mind. Most people attack life with an unprepared mind. What I do is I try to account for all things that could happen, might happen, probably will happen, and then the unknowns. So basically, I can't account for everything, but I do know there could be some things that come up in life that you need to be ready for. I know for a fact I'm not going to want to work out tomorrow. Therefore, I'm preparing my mind for that. I know tomorrow will come with some difficult decisions to make. It may come with getting a phone call saying someone died. This happened, that happened. I'm always preparing myself, not in a morbid way, but just like, look, man, be ready for life. Don't let life just start attacking you left and right. Make sure that you start to build a mental armor. A lot of our family members, a lot of our friends, they're mediocre. There's always those couple of guys who are uncommon, who want to be better. But you make that mediocre motherfucker feel like shit. Whether it's your mom, your dad, whoever. You make them feel horrible. I've been there. I'm speaking from experience. You get somebody around you, man, who's trying to be better, and you don't have the drive that they have, it's a constant reminder of how fucked up you are. You have to know that that's what it is. Anybody in your course not saying, man, get after it, brother, I'm so proud of you, they have a problem with themselves. Because all you're trying to do is achieve more. If that's a problem for somebody, you have to look at them and say, man, you really have a fucking problem with yourself, huh? It's much deeper than what you think.
Hello, ladies and gents. Welcome to episode 334 of the Hoots podcast. It's Thursday, November 3rd, 2022. I'm recording live in my studio here in lovely Chicago, Illinois. Hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend. It's truly some nefarious the one and only Brother Adam, aka Joshie Lopez. You can follow me at Twitter at the Hoots Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at Josh Lopez Media if you'd like to check out some other stuff on there. And some new covers may be coming your way this weekend on Josh Lopez Music on Instagram, so be on the lookout for that. No guarantees, but I've heard a couple of new songs that I wanted to learn and give it a shot and try them out for you guys. So I may do some guitar covers this week. We'll have to see, but who knows? First and foremost, as I'm recording this, I'd like to wish an early happy birthday to my grandpa. His birthday's coming up on Saturday, so I just wanted to give a shout out to one of my main people in my life and one of my major role models. Love you, Grandpa, and hope to see you soon. With that being said, we got a lot to get to this week for the podcast, as we usually do. The podcast comes to you free of charge every single Thursday, anywhere you get your podcast from. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. They introduced a new element on YouTube called handles. So if you want to find the Hoots Podcast, you just put in at the Hoots Podcast on YouTube as well if you want to check it out there. But I would recommend you guys check out the audio versions of the podcast as well. We're available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the other major digital streaming platforms for podcasting. And been rocking and rolling for the show since 2016. We're on the road to 500 episodes, and appreciate the support each and every single week. Lots to get to this week. There's never a slow week in professional wrestling. I will always say that. Now, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing is neither here or there. Or it's up to your own interpretation, I guess. But I'm in good spirits. I had a really busy weekend. I think this past month or two has been really, really busy from a transfer point of view, but making the best out of it. Outside of that, personally wise, I'm in really good spirits and just enjoying life and really just curtailing my focus to just my career and stuff, and just working on what I would need to work on myself mentally wise and all that good stuff. But all in all, your boy's in good spirits and very, very happy, and just excited to come in here, and always grateful and blessed for not only having another day here on this planet, but always just grateful for having the opportunity to come on here and talk to you guys, express my opinions, and just have a good conversation, and hopefully I can make you laugh, maybe share some life advice, and just have some fun. So thank you guys for checking out the podcast. So with that being said, we do have predictions to make this week for this coming weekend's WWE Premium Live event in Saudi Arabia called WWE Crown Jewel, or as I like to call it, Crown Royal. Now, I know it's hard for you to expect me to understand name of liquor brands, seeming as I am a straight edge person, which is true. I am straight edge. Doesn't mean I don't know my liquor brands. I did come up with a family that loves their alcohol. I'll just say that. But anyways, Crown Royal's coming up on Saturday. I'll be covering that event, and lots to get to from there. Brother Carter this week, make sure to follow him, by the way, on Twitter at Derek Stoughton. Brother Carter is via satellite this week. Not only did he send in a clip for what the hell is wrong with AEW this week, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about this week. It amazes me how AEW continues to lower the bar as these weeks go by. So I'm curious to hear what Brother Carter has to say in that segment. But also, we got the return of the Thoughts of Dericho, and shout out to Brother Carter as always. But we start off the podcast as we usually do with the Back Porch Q&A session. If you want to participate in the Back Porch Q&A session, all you have to do is hit me up on Twitter at the Hoots Podcast or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com before our recording days, which are Thursdays. And if you ever want to participate, it could be a question about life, sports, wrestling, music, whatever floats your boat. And we don't have as much questions this week as we did last week, which is okay. But I always appreciate for those who want to participate and send questions. I think we just had questions this week from Chris and Mike, which is okay. But let's start this off with Chris Zaletta. Throw up the X at X-Teen Zaletta 24X on Twitter. He says, "What up, Boost? Here's some questions for the Q&A this week. Who wins Brock Bobby 2 at the house show Saturday?" I think we're passing away calling Crown Jewel a house show. Anyways, I have a feeling this may go into like a double DQ or no contest there. I'm not really going to expand on it right now because that leads more for this week in WWE Segment. But what I'll say is I think I'm really excited for the match, and it's going to be an interesting environment. The cool thing with Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley is like you can have a fight and brawl all the time if you want. Also, at the same time, you really don't need to have a 20 or 25-minute match. You know what I mean? When it comes to guys like that, they're just horses. They're like real-life kaiju superheroes, and they're just destructive monsters, and they're just going to beat the shit out of each other. As Big E always says, big meaty man slapping meat, pumping meat. And when it comes to this match, I mean, I'm for either way. Brock could win, and I can understand. Bobby could win, and I think it'd be a cool moment for him. Part of me wants this to continue. At the same time, this is another thing here with those two guys where this match doesn't have to be a 25-minute match to necessitate its value, if you will. Next question. Who is Uncle Howdy? Is that Meltzer? No, I'm kidding. Meltzer is never interesting. I'll say it looks like it's Bo Dallas. That's the thing with Bray Wyatt. You never know. It could be anybody. It could be Bruce Pritchard. Could it be Nick Mahan? No, I'm kidding. Could it be? Could be Barry Windham? I think it'd be pretty funny if it was, but I think we'll get more details as it goes on. I heard that Bray Wyatt will be at Crown Royal on Saturday, so maybe we get some developments from that point of view. But I don't expect much to be advanced towards the pay-per-view for tomorrow's SmackDown because they taped this week's SmackDown following last week's episode. And there was a double taping last week. So we'll have to wait to Saturday, see if we get more clues as to who Uncle Howdy is. But I think we'll get more clues towards it either at the pay-per-view or after Crown Jewel on Saturday. So we'll have to see. But I'm curious. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. And I kind of like this clash of internal conflict meets trying to heal and, just release. I feel like Bray Wyatt's trying to release himself from the pain that he's gone through, where you speak it out to the audience, and that's just that inner conflict, and the demons just keep trying to drag him down along the way. But either way, I'm intrigued, and I've liked what I see so far. And like I said with Bray Return, I'm not really going to try to overanalyze what this thing is with Bray Wyatt, because when it comes to Bray Wyatt, he's an experience. And I'm already seeing people on Twitter, and Twitter's just a goddamn cesspool. People on Twitter are like, oh my God, when's Bray going to get to a match? Bray Wyatt's an attraction. No, you don't need him. One, you don't need him on TV every single week. And two, Bray Wyatt as a wrestler does not need to wrestle on TV to validate his place on the roster, in my opinion. We don't even know what this iteration of Bray Wyatt is yet. So how are we going to put him in matches? Okay, Bray Wyatt's going to squash somebody in 20 seconds, and then we get another Uncle Howdy clip on the Titantron? Like, come on. But that's a good question, Chris. I'm not really sure, and I think that's the good thing. We don't really need to have all the answers right off the gate. Maybe Uncle Howdy's a girl. You never know. Thoughts on the Chase Claypool trade? Glad you asked this. Yes, the Bears traded for Chase Claypool. Chris and everybody, would you mind me not taking a step back, but would you allow me to have the floor to rip. Hey, Mr. Bear, how's it going, buddy? Will you allow me to rip the Pittsburgh Steelers for a little bit? And I'm not saying this as a fan because I'm not a fan of the Steelers. I'm a Bears fan. But I have been watching closely the Steelers this year because of the fact that Mitch Trubisky, who I am a fan of, and I wanted to see him do well, I've really been paying attention to the Steelers this year. I don't know what is going on out there in Pittsburgh. I don't know if the whole Mike Tomlin thing is a bill of goods and people don't really pay close attention to what really goes on with this football team as opposed to like the press conference clips you get here from time to time that you see like on ESPN or NFL Network. But when it comes to the Steelers, I just don't. It's crazy to say here in 2022 that the Pittsburgh Steelers have no identity. Their offensive coordinator is an absolute clown. Inept. Being inept is me being kind and fair at this point. And I watched how things were handled with Mitch Trubisky, and he said it this week when he got interviewed. The Steelers are on the bye week this week, for those who were wondering, or hope maybe are happy they don't have to watch it this week. Anyways, Mitch said that the offense looks exactly the same since he got benched. And what does that say? What does that say about Mike Tomlin, who always pumps out his chest about how he runs towards things that are uncomfortable or unpopular and doesn't let like outside voices dictate his decision making? And what's the saying he always says all the time? We don't live in our fears. As much as I've been following the Steelers this year, and maybe it's probably a mistake on my end, and I'm sure Adam is laughing at me, and now I can understand what he's been dealing with for most of his life. First off, their fan base is absolutely delusional and just absolutely neurotic on all fronts. Secondly, their radio stations and media conglomerate is just as bad as it is here. Andrew Filipponi is an absolute clown, and his partner too. Stooge Baldhead McGee Muller is a clown too. I don't know what they're trying to accomplish here. And we got two ties here. We got the Steelers and the Bears. We had Mitch Trubisky, who was on the Steelers. Now Chase Claypool got traded to the Bears the other day for the trade deadline. And I could not be happier for Chase being traded. Not only for the fact for him to get an opportunity to explore his potential as a player again and do things on his own terms, but getting away from this, whatever we're going to call this Matt Canada experience in Pittsburgh right now. I don't know what their goal is. You have the same offense where you throw 5-yard passes. Your first two calls every drive is run, pass, run, pass, run, pass. Hey, Dial Loggins called. He wants his playbook back. And you got it's crazy to think about the Pittsburgh Steelers. They're 2-6. You know who's been the quarterback for both of their victories? The quarterback everybody loves to hate, Mitch Trubisky. And he's on the bench unwarrantedly because Deontay Johnson couldn't keep his hands on the ball, and there was a tip pass interception against the Jets, and that was enough for you to cut bait with Mitch when he is not responsible that Nick Chubb ran for fucking 400 yards against the Steelers in the Cleveland game. There's a lot to get into with the Steelers, and I'm not going to make this a whole Steelers rant show, but I don't know what they're doing out there. And it sucks to say that because I've said it for many times that Mike Tomlin is one of my favorite coaches in the NFL. But I get it that Ben Roethlisberger retired last year, but holy shit. Like, I didn't think it would get to this point. It was so fast where, like, there's such a talent deficiency, let alone incompetence in their coaching staff, they're not in a good place right now. They're really not. As far as Chase coming to the team, I'm going to give credit to Ryan Poles and being proactive, as like I said on Twitter the other day. I'm happy for Chase that he's getting an opportunity to come here and play. I think it's a good thing for Justin. It's a good thing for the offense. I know the team's been publicized for trading Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn. I'm kind of glad that Roquan's gone, to be honest with you. I'm not going to run from it. I seem to grow lost a lot of respect for him over the last couple of seasons. Just how he carries himself. I did not get a good first impression for him when he was dealing with the whole, trying to pull up the whole diva contract shit with Ryan Pace when he got drafted in 2018, and how he carries himself through this whole process of him trying to be an agent on his own. And he says one thing and then does something else, and then he shows up a couple weeks against bad teams, and then when it comes to the good teams, he can't tackle anybody and lets people run through him like it's nothing and getting stiff-armed by Carson Wentz. So, adios to you, Roquan. But as far as Chase Claypool is concerned, I think he's going to do a lot of good things here. I think the offense could really work out with him. He's good down the field. He's been looking for goal balls, as they say, of post patterns and, just throwing the ball more down the field. And Justin's really good at that. So I can only see good from this. And here's the thing. What does Chase have to do? He's still on his rookie contract. Having a guy come here with a chip on his shoulder and a new opportunity to really make a name for himself in the new city, I really think it's a good thing, to be honest with you. So I'm really excited for Chase, and I think he's going to do a lot of good stuff here. Great question, Chris. Next question. Who is the fourth best team in the NFL outside of the Eagles, Bills, and Kansas City? Good question there, my man. It's this NFL season has been really, really interesting. I mean, you just look at the standings right now for the NFL. It's hard. I mean, it's like you got those three teams like you mentioned, Chris, and it's just a smorgasbord of mid-teams and teams that are like, okay, decent, Like, for me, I have like a three-way tie for that fourth place, Chris, to be honest with you. It's between the Titans, Cowgirls, and Vikings. Like, that's probably the only three other teams I could put in that spot. I'd probably say the Cowboys. They're probably more rounded than the other two teams I mentioned there, but the only reason I'm going with the Cowgirls for number 4 is that I think Dak is a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins and Ryan Tannehill. But this whole league has been such littered with parity, and I don't think it's a bad thing. I've seen people like, oh, this NFL season hasn't been enjoyable. I kind of like this like Wild Wild West factor, where it's like when we get closer towards the end of the season, we get like closer to who's trying to finish up there and clinch their playoff spots, like those last couple weeks. It's going to be very petty. It's going to be very interesting, and it's going to be some really highly like intense level games that are going to be played during that time period. So I'm really excited to see how it plays out, to be honest with you, because this NFL season's been a lot of fun just for the unpredictable factor that's taking place so far this season. I've been liking what I've seen so far. So anything can really happen at this point. That's a great question. Best deal that happened at the NFL trade deadline. Man. I'm curious to see what Bradley Chubb does with the Dolphins. Can I say it right now that it's the best? Probably not. I think for me, just for what I've seen and what I can see down the road, I think Christian McCaffrey getting traded to the 49ers is probably going to be the best trade out of all of them that were made over the last week or so. I think Christian McCaffrey is going to be the winner of this trade deadline this season. And he had a really good performance last week against the Rams. So I think McCaffrey's McCaffrey's in a good spot to do some damage with the 49ers. Like I said, I did not think the 49ers were going to make the playoffs this year, but they decided to bet on themselves to get McCaffrey. And at this point, that's probably going to bite me in the ass now. So I think the 49ers will probably make the playoffs now, unfortunately. Next question. Does Jamie Hayter win the women's title at Full Gear? I hope so. But, Chris, honestly, does it matter at the end of the day? Like, can you tell me, like, the last AEW women's champion that really generated buzz out of becoming the champion? Like, I'm going to save it later because that women's division is all over the fucking place, man. It's not good. I like Jamie Hayter. Good-looking girl. Very physical. Pretty solid in the ring. The crowd's into her, so that's always a good thing. But I always say that AEW crowds are very misleading on what's over or not. I think it'll be a good match with her and Tony, but here's the thing. I'm so indifferent towards Toni Storm. Like, her title reign resembles drywall. It resembles the color that you see on the barricades and the fences in the prison doors and wherever cells you're in. Like, it's so bland and dry that I just don't care at this point. I really don't. I think it'd be a cool moment, so I hope she does win. Chris, but is it really going to make a difference at the end of the day? How many matches do we see Cassiori Shibata work at AEW? Oh, I hope whatever happens tomorrow is the only one because Cassiori, it's so funny like how delusional this company is where they think that it's a good look to have their company's mascot, the guy who just basically kisses Tony Khan's ass just to get TV time, which is really what this whole bit is with Orange Cassidy. He became butt buddies with Tony Khan at the beginning, and so Tony Khan's going to try to do everything he possibly can to try to convince us that Orange Cassidy Pockets is a main event guy. And so he's going to come in and, defeat one of the more legitimate professional wrestlers in the world or all time in Shibata tomorrow. And we're just going to sit there and act like it's a real legit thing. I don't get it. I really don't. When I saw Shibata come out at Forbidden Door at the United Center, it was a cool moment for me because I am a fan of Shibata. Him and Ishii are the reason why I got into New Japan. And to see this go down tomorrow is just embarrassing. Is not the proper word to describe my feelings towards that match, and I'll expand more into it and what the hell's wrong with AEW. So I hope this is the only one because honestly, you had this guy who had a serious injury in your first match. You're gonna put him in with fucking pockets. Come on, man, it's a joke. Thoughts on Alexa Bliss and Asuka becoming the new women's tag team champions? I will answer that in This Week in WWE. Next question here. He says, any issue if a second women's stable was created in WWE? No, I don't think it's a problem if another female group comes together. It just depends on who you put in there. Like who's leading it? You know what I mean? Is it like a babyface group? Is it a heel group? Like what does that look like? And what are I always say like the more pertinent things when it comes to like factions and groups are basically what are their intentions are and like what's their identity? Like again, going back to the intentions, like what's their purpose? And does the group that's assembled work with what their goal is? And can you believe that they can accomplish said goals, right? That's basically the premise of all good factions in wrestling, right? I don't think it's a bad idea. I know there's been a lot of conversations recently about, probably implementing a mid-card title for the women's scene. I'd like to see maybe that being implemented before another female faction on the roster, Chris. But at the same time, this goes back to what I've been saying all along here on the show, is that it's just end the brand split. And if you're going to add more like women's titles or stuff like that, you need a singular all women's brand show to pull off effectively the storylines you want to tell with the women. I'm not saying that you can't have women feuds and stuff like that on Raw or SmackDown, but there's so much time to fill and so much content to be put out that these are going to be lost in the shuffle when you're just so tied into what the brand split format is. And, you just got to split that up and see where things can go. So that's my opinion on that. I want to thank you, Chris, for the questions this week. I appreciate it, buddy, as always. Let's get to our next questions here from Mike at Main Event Swerve down in Houston, Texas. Yes, sir. Oh, man. Yes, sir. I got Mike's questions right here. Boom. Let's start off with this. Could the Eagles go undefeated this regular season? I'm going to say no. I think they'll probably lose maybe one or two. I think they're a great team. I think at the side they'll probably get the first seed in the NFC, which is no problem. I think they'll probably accomplish that. Do I think they'll go undefeated though? I do not. Next question here from Mike. He says, after last night's combined no-hitter, care to change the World Series prediction? No, I'm not one of those sports fans that like change the predictions mid-series or stuff like that. I don't waver my opinions due to in the moment things. Like I don't blow in the wind, if you will. It was impressive. It was. They had a combined no-hitter last night. It was pretty impressive. But I'm still going to stick with I'm still sticking with the Phillies to win the World Series. So that I'm sticking with my pick. And then the final question this week, he says, thoughts on Pat McAfee getting backlash from the NFL over using its logos on its broadcast? I think it's just a bad look on the NFL. The no fun league, it's sad to see how much damage the NFL does to themselves by just not reading the room, making decisions that the NFL doesn't make a lot of sense with a lot of decisions they make. And going after Pat, who's done nothing but celebrate the league over the last couple of years, and a lot of people get more invested into your primetime shows like a Monday night or Thursday night football game due to their show previewing those games. I don't know if anybody puts more effort into Thursday night football outside of the Amazon crew than the Pat McAfee show. I mean, yeah, like Monday Night Countdown is like an irrelevant sports show. I don't even watch it anymore. It's not good. The Sunday night preview shows, like the Monday Night Countdown, like how we used to get excited for that before primetime games. I don't watch those anymore. It's not because of the fact that my team sucks. It's just the fact that the presentation is not good. I don't like the NBC format on Sunday Night Football anymore. The whole crew is not good. Sunday Night Football commentary is not good. As much as I like Mike Tirico, Chris Collinsworth puts me to sleep. Monday night, I'm happy for Buck and Aikman, but the Monday Night Countdown crew sucks too. It's just not good television. So, like, for NFL to go out of the way and be like, oh, you can't use our logos, and no. It's like, give the guy a fucking break. The guy spent $4 million just to make this arrangement happen. and he pulls in numbers, and there's not a day that goes by where something for Pat's show is not trending on Twitter, and you want to go out of your way and start shit with the guy because you're the NFL and you could pick at people who do independent content and stuff like that. It's like, come on, give the guy a freaking break. I just don't get it. I think it's stupid. But I hope that whole situation gets figured out soon, because that's stuff that just should not happen, to be honest with you. I want to thank Chris and Mike for the questions this week. I really do appreciate you guys. The last thing I'm going to do here for the Q&A is I'm going to read a couple quotes from one of my favorite shows, which is How I Met Your Mother. And here's a lot of different live quotes from Ted Mosby, and hope you could take some of them with you and apply it to your life. So here we go. Everyone has an opinion on how long it takes to recover from a breakup, but love doesn't make sense. You can't logic your way into or out of it. Love is totally nonsensical, but we have to keep doing it, or else we're lost and love is dead, and humanity should just pack it in, because love's the biggest thing we do. If you're not scared, then you're not taking a chance. If you're not taking a chance, then what the hell are you doing anyway? Because sometimes, even if you know how something's going to end, that doesn't mean you can't enjoy the ride. The great moments of your life won't necessarily be the things you do. They'll always be the things that happen to you. He says here, I wound up shame eating the whole pizza. I woke up all greasy and sweaty. My sheets look like they were wrapped up deli sandwiches, and maybe I should join a gym. Do you go to a gym? How about this one here? That's unrelated to the other stuff. If you're looking for the world, if you're looking for the word that means caring for someone beyond all rationality and wanting them to have everything they want, no matter how much it destroys you, it's love. And when you love someone, you just don't stop, ever. Even when people roll your eyes or they call you crazy, even then, especially then. Long distance is a lie teenagers tell each other to get laid this summer before college. And there's a lot of collection of quotes here that are mixed in between. That's some of them. Let me try. How about this one? This is the last quote I'll share here for the podcast this week. Something to think about here. If I could give up, if I could just take the whole world's advice and just move on and find someone else that wouldn't be love, that would be some other disposable thing that's not worth fighting for. One more time. If I could give up, if I could just take the whole world's advice and just move on and find someone else, that wouldn't be love. That would be some other disposable thing that's not worth fighting for. Boom. I want to thank you guys so much. I want to thank Mike and Chris for the questions this week. As always, if you want to participate in the Back Porch Q&A session, all you have to do is hit me up at Twitter at the Hoots Podcast or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. When we come back, we'll go over what happened this past week on Raw and SmackDown and preview what's coming up live in Saudi Arabia this Saturday on the WWE Network on Peacock, which is Crown Jewel. And we'll talk about it right here this week in WWE on the Hoots Podcast. We'll be right back. Yes, sir. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Hoots Podcast. Time to talk about what happened this week in WWE. We're going to start out big. We're going to start off really, really big here. And we're going to start it off with this past week's Friday Night SmackDown and the segment that has just about everybody and their mother talking. It is the Bloodline with Roman Reigns trying to middle and try to get to the bottom of these issues with Sami Zayn and everybody's favorite player hater, Jey Uso.
We usually have a little order to things here, but we're going to switch it up tonight. You've acknowledged me. Now it's time for me to acknowledge this elephant in the room.
You two. You want to act like kids? Then we're going to treat you like kids. I don't believe in airing the backstage in the ring. I believe in fighting in the ring and handling your business, but it seems like you two just can't do that. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to put it all on the table. I want you to let it all out because I want this problem fixed right now.
Don't know what it is, but you just can't seem to stand me. And I don't understand it. Everybody, Jimmy seems fine. Solo seems fine. Everybody seems fine, just you. And I don't know what I did to offend you. I really don't. But whatever it is, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I just don't want this to keep going on like this anymore. Okay? So what? Thank you. Seriously, whatever I did, I'm sorry. Can we just be cool? Can we bury the hatchet once and for all?
Sammy, you got about 2 seconds to get that out my face. I don't like you. Huh? I don't like your hair. I don't like your face. I don't like that shirt you wear. Hey. I don't like him being around my family every single week. My dog this, my dog that. Hey, how you think you part of the bloodline and you ain't blood? Hey, news flash for you, Sammy. You never will be, Ucey. You don't belong here. Oh, nobody in this group like you. I'm just the realest one to say it out loud. You some fake ass Ucey. You know the difference between you and me is? I shed blood for every single one of my family members in here because it's my family, not yours. Oh, will you do it? Will you? I'm asking you a question.
Why are you yelling at me, huh? Why are you yelling at me? I'm trying to make peace. The tribal chief said he wants peace.
I don't give a damn what the tribal chief say.
Look, what Jay just said was super messed up, but he didn't mean that. He didn't mean, right? You didn't mean that. He didn't mean that. Roman, seriously, he did not mean that, okay? Look, Jay's been going through a lot. He's gone through a lot. He's just not himself right now. That's it, okay? He's just not, lately he just hasn't been very Ucey.
Is that what's going on here? That's the problem, Jay. It's because you're not feeling. It's because you're not feeling Ucey? Ucey? No, stay right here. Stay right here. This is what we're gonna do. If you can't find your inner Ucey again, I'm gonna do something you ain't gonna like. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take that honorary away. And I'm gonna make him a full-blown Uce.
The best part, looking back at this, is the facial expression Sammy had when Roman's like, I'm gonna make him a full-blown noose. I love it, man. Oh, God, that's hilarious. All right. With that being said, all right. I mean, what else do I add to that? Like, you don't get better TV than that. And for all you people that are trying to come up with ways to be the smart person in the room, or just try to be the first one with the opposite opinion, because everybody on Twitter just needs the opposite opinion. Oh, the bloodline's getting stale. The bloodline's getting stale. The bloodline's getting stale. Yeah, take one up the ass. Because the fucking Jericho January 6th appreciators, that's not stale. Or every other fucking group Chris Jericho's had since he's been in AEW. But that's besides the point. That was great. That was fantastic. I don't know what else to add to that, like I said. It was really nice, by the way, to see Emma back on my TV screens at WWE. She made her return last Friday night. I thought that was a pretty cool moment for her. She had a match with Ronda Rousey. Rousey won with the armbar. Very competitive match. I thought that was pretty cool. We had Legado del Fantasma taking the L to Hit Row and Nakamura. I'm fine with this decision here because it wasn't Escobar taking the pin. It was a fine match, and nice to get Shinsuke back on TV, so I understood why they went with that direction. It looks like we'll get LA Knight against Ricochet tomorrow. Also, don't forget, tomorrow's main event on SmackDown is Gunther against Rey Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship. That's going to be a lot of fun. And then, of course, we had our Chile Bray Wyatt segment, which tied into Uncle Howdy calling Bray Wyatt a liar. Now, here's the thing: is Uncle Howdy calling Bray Wyatt a liar on the surface? What's he lying about? Is Bray Wyatt just a general liar? Like, I don't know. Those are the clues that we have to figure out, but I thought SmackDown was decent this week. That Bloodline segment was absolutely phenomenal. Then we go to Raw, for this past Monday in Dallas. Bianca and Nikki Cross, a solid match. There was a lot of good matches on Raw this week. I thought Raw was better than SmackDown. We had Seth Rollins and Austin Theory, which was a barn burner. Put some freaking respect on Austin Theory's name, by the way. Can we stop with the bullshit? We get it. Vince McMahon's not there. He was his golden boy, but can we stop this nonsense? Because it wasn't Twitter or internet darling. By the way, wasn't Austin Theory one of the more popular guys in the Indies? Anyways, I thought that was a good match. Roman had another good promo on SmackDown. I'm not going to play on that because I don't want to play too much audio on here. But he had a promo trying to preview his match with Logan Paul for this Saturday. And The Miz tried to intervene because Miz has his experience with Logan Paul. I thought it was a nice sign there. Roman clocked Miz with Superman punch. The promo that Roman was cutting, walking up the rampway was just fantastic. If you haven't heard it, go out of your way to go check it out. Priest and Carl Anderson, I thought it was pretty decent. Pretty solid match. Carl Anderson got a victory there, so it was nice to see. I'm telling you right now, Corey Graves is doing this JBL and Barry Corbin shtick, no favors. Gotta call a spade here. Again, it's nothing personal against the guy. It's just not clicking right now for me with him. It's just something's off. I feel like he's overcompensating, trying to be the obnoxious heel. And I don't feel like I'm hearing him most of the time. It's just loud screaming and snarky comments. And I get it. You're a heel commentator, but like constantly trying to act like you're the smartest person in the room can be off-putting at times as a viewer. But Besides that, the stuff with Otis and Riddle, I thought was pretty funny. Otis dressed up as a Chippendale. I cracked up with that. What was even more funnier is that Riddle was rocking the Ezekiel gear. I thought that was pretty funny. Ali and Miz, thought that was fine. Ali won. I do want to mention this because I mentioned this on Twitter the other night too. I don't want to leave those stone on here. Look, guys, I get it. There's people on Twitter that want certain wrestlers in WWE to be pushed. But if you're going to go to these shows and sit on your fucking hands and say nothing and not cheer while those performers you're marking out for, supposedly, on Twitter, and you're not going to do anything about it and just sit on your hands while their match is going on, how does that help the people behind the scenes switch the parameters of the positions those are in? Now, we don't have to replicate fucking Daniel Bryan and Kofi Kingston because that's been a tired trope over the last couple years. But if you want these people in the positions that you claim to be, Liv Morgan, Drew McIntyre, and then you guys flip the script on those two, keep the same energy is all I'm saying. If you want these performers to be in a position of a higher level or main event that you think they deserve those opportunities, show up for them. Buy their shit. This thing, because you type out, oh, Mustafa Ali deserves to be booked better 100 times a week on Twitter, it's not going to put him in a better position. I'm just being honest with you guys. Gotta keep the same energy. You want Drew McIntyre to get his opportunity, he gets his opportunity, and then not even a month into his title reign, because we're in the pandemic era, you guys flip the script on him and say, oh, Drew McIntyre should turn heel. Oh, he's being too much of a babyface. Like, you gotta make up your mind. Enough with the fickle shit. Now, speaking of good shit, the investigation with Johnny Gargano and the reenactments with Byron Saxton, I thought was absolutely phenomenal. I think this is probably the best thing I've seen on TV this week. Outside the Bloodline segment, because not only was this good from a storytelling point of view, the comedic timing was really good on this, and I want to give props to Triple H and the crew for going the way they're going with Johnny Gargano in this approach, because yeah, we get it, Johnny Wrestling in NXT, we get the whole shtick, but there's like another 45% of the audience who don't know who this guy is, why people should care about him. You can't just drop people from NXT and expect everybody to understand all their mannerisms, their characteristics, their backgrounds of why they are where they are, just because they're from NXT. It just doesn't work that way. I never understood that myopic point of view from these talk shows and these websites where they're like, oh, there should be a seamless transition from NXT to the main roster. It doesn't work that way. It's never worked that way. You have to bring in new layers into your performance if you're going to make that transition from one show to the next. And I think that they're doing a good job with Johnny, and having stuff like this is going to do him more positive than, him wrestling, having a 25-minute match every other week. And he's just there, and he gets like the golf claps. Like, this is a different audience. You gotta have a reason for people to care about the guy, and try to get into what his personality is. And I give Triple H and crew credit for doing something different out of the box and staying consistent to it. You want to build trust, and you want good things to come out of your product. You cannot allow Twitter to dictate your decisions. Double down on the stuff that's working on you, and have the awareness, self-awareness to understand if something's not working, just make the switch and do something different. But too many times, and AEW's a major fault at this, they try to curtail so many different things in their product that you can't follow along with their feuds half the time, because Tony Khan is so fixated on trying to placate to the marks and win this fucking Booker of the Year award that his shows half the time don't make any fucking sense either. So that was that. And then we had the main event, which was Damage Control against Asuka and Alexa Bliss for the women's tag team titles. I I don't know what people's beef is with Asuka and Alexa being a tag team. What's the worst could happen? What, Alexa turns on Asuka? Like, that's a problem? Like, I don't understand the issue of them coming to the A with Bianca Belair, because basically it's been those two have been on her side since this whole feud started, since SummerSlam. Those two were taken out for injury purposes on TV due to damage control. You didn't think they were going to just show up randomly and go off doing their separate things as if nothing happened? You know what I mean? Like, what part of it doesn't make sense? Bianca's in the feud with Bayley right now. Those two are not going after the title. They had the opportunity now to win the tag team titles, and they did. You know, it's a very, very good match. I was really surprised that Asuka and Alexa won on Monday. I really did. I didn't see that coming, so who knows? And like I said, what's the worst thing to come out of this with Asuka and Alexa Bliss being a tag team? What? Asuka or Alexa turn on each other? Just because they're not going after the title right now doesn't mean they should not be a tag team. And I don't understand for people too. They're like, oh, it doesn't make sense for Asuka and Alexa Bliss to link up with Bianca Belair or Constance Ater. Who the fuck has been by her side since the beginning of this whole program? I don't know if they would if Becky Lynch is not injured, but she is. You gotta adapt. Get over it. So, that was Raw. Let's make some predictions. No! For Crown Royal coming up on Saturday. We have a rematch coming up for these tag team titles. And I believe Damage Control will get the titles back from Asuka and Alexa Bliss. We got the Usos against Braun Brutes for the Undisputed Tag Team titles. I got the Usos retaining. I have Bayley beating Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's title. This could be a last woman standing match. Drew McIntyre against Killer Cross in the cage. I got McIntyre winning that match. I got Braun Strowman beating Omos. I got Brock Lesnar and Lashley going into a double DQ scenario, so this feud continues. Or Brock Lesnar wins straight up. I have AJ Styles and the Good Brothers beating the Judgment Day somehow. And then I got Roman Reigns obviously retaining against Logan Paul. And I'm curious to see how that works out as well. So it should be pretty interesting premium live event, if you will, coming up on Saturday. Saw some other news. The thing with Vincent Mann's trial concluded. $19.5 million coming out of the investigation. Oofa. Other news surrounding WWE. Saw that Shinsuke Nakamura will be appearing for the New Year's show for Noah, Pro Wrestling Noah, in 2023. I think that's very, very interesting. As I say that, New Japan has a pay-per-view, I guess you could call it, coming up on Saturday. Battle Autumn in Osaka. Now, New Japan also had two pay-per-views that went down the last week since the last time I spoke to you, which were the Rumble on 44th Street shows. Those were a lot of fun to cover. I had a lot of fun covering those events. That was a lot of fun to do. If you guys have seen the Rumble on 44th Street, those were two shows that they did at the Palladium in Times Square. Both very, very fun events. If you guys want to go check that out, I recommend you guys go check that out. Anyways, the last thing I want to do here before we get to our main event segment was to preview the card for the Battle Autumn show that's taking place on Saturday. This is the last show on this tour. Then we get straight into the World Tag League / Super Junior Tag League tournament and tour to conclude 2023 for New Japan. The first match here we got is United Empire's TJP and Francisco Kira taking on Bushi and Teton. We have a 8-man tag match featuring Hiroshi Tanahashi, Toriano, David Finlay, and Alex Z taking on the tag team of Aussie Open. Aaron Henare, and Gideon Gray, the contention known as the United Empire. Third single match on the card is Hikuleo against Yujiro Takahashi. We have the semifinals of the inaugural NJPW World TV Championship Tournament. The winners of these matches will fight each other at Wrestle Kingdom. So you're getting your second announced Wrestle Kingdom match here. So I'm really excited for that. We have Sonata against Ren Narita on one side. And then we got Zack Sabre Jr. against Evil. Next we have a tag match. The tag partners have not been announced yet. It's kind of a preview tag of the Fatal 4-Way tag that's going to be taking place at Wrestle Kingdom. So correct me from what I just said a couple seconds ago. You'll get the third announced match for Wrestle Kingdom. So right now we have Jay White putting his title against Okada, right? We have this Fatal 4-Way match with Ishimori putting the title against Hiromu Takahashi, El Desperado, and Masquerato. That's a Fatal 4-Way. And then the finals of this World Title Tournament, World TV Title Tournament. So you have 3 matches right there announced for Wrestle Kingdom, which is pretty cool. But in this preview on Saturday, we have a preview tag. It hasn't been decided yet. My guess is it's going to be Takahashi and Desperado against Ishimori and Master Wato. That's going to be my guess. After that, we have another special tag match as we preview Wrestle Kingdom. It's Okada and Tama Tonga against Jay White and Kenta. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be a barn burner. Speaking of barn burners, FTR are making their first New Japan domestic appearance as the IWGP Tag Team Champions. They'll be putting their titles on the line against the United Empire's Jeff Cobb and the Great O'Khan. All hail. That's going to be a very good match. And then the main event is Will Ospreay putting his U.S. Championship on the line against Tetsuya Naito, the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship match. That is going to be insane. If you guys did not see their G1 match, it was fucking phenomenal. I don't even know what else to say how fantastic their G1 match was. So, really excited for that. This Osaka card on Saturday is phenomenal from top to bottom. It really is. There's a lot of good matches to look out for. It should be a fun event. It's going to be a pretty long one, I guess. It's probably going to be 4.5 hours. Probably, maybe even 5. But you're going to get a lot of follow-up from this and see where things are going to head towards Wrestle Kingdom, which is only a one-night show this upcoming year, which I don't necessarily have an issue with. I'd like the 2-night format, but going back to traditional roots, and I think it's going to be a pretty cool deal. But either way, that's the card coming up this Saturday for the Battle Autumn Tour concluding in Osaka. With that being said, it's time for the main event. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time to give the people what they want, what they need, what they salivate for. A brand new spanking edition of What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. We're going to start this bad boy off with the one and only Brother Carter via satellite this week in a 3, a 2, a 1.
Beat your meat. 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 Beat your meat.
I'm telling you, my time is right now. Right this minute, 2022. We're living it. My time is now. My time is right goddamn now.
Man, what intensity.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. What the hell is wrong with AEW? Wow. That's all I have to say about this week's episode of Dynamite is wow. Wow in not a good way. This was one of the worst episodes of Dynamite I've ever seen. Booking that makes absolute no sense. inconsistencies with everything, and random returns that are going to lead to absolutely nothing. So basically a formula for a typical Dynamite show. So let's get into it. Started with the things that I did enjoy. I will say, I didn't mind Ethan Page on commentary. I thought he did a nice job with that. Maybe that's what he can do instead of wrestle, because I don't think he can wrestle. But I actually didn't mind him on commentary. I thought he did a good job with that. The Acclaimed getting gifts from the crowd, especially from that kid for their celebration with Billy Gunn, that was cool. Like, taking the gift from the kid, I thought that was really cool. But, of course, they take shots at WWE in the reunion, because why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't AEW take shots at WWE? The certificate of adoption was hilarious. I thought that was really funny. And then, of course, we see the emergence of the Guns kids, which is going to be fine. I actually think it's going to be fine. It makes somewhat sense for them to face this off against the Acclaim next. And the Guns have potential, so they look good. So I think this could actually be fine. I just don't know how FTR fits into this, but we'll get into this in just a second. Luchasaurus has a cool entrance now, and it was cool to see a vignette for Malachi Black and the House of Black. Always happy to see them, and I know Malachi Black's been going through some stuff, so if we see him back soon, I'm very happy about that. We've talked about mental health and stuff like that on this show before, so if it means Malachi Black is back, that's awesome. I hope we get to see him soon. And now let's get into the shit, and oh God, is there a lot of shit. So, they're running Darby Allin versus Jay Lethal again, but yet there are 100 other people on the roster that aren't being used. Man, that's genius, pal. I will say Darby bouncing off from Satnam Singh was kind of cool. But now, all of a sudden, the referee was throwing out Sanjay and Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh, which makes no sense at all. And then we get to the ending of the match. Oh, boy. Cole Carter from the Factory joins Lethal's group in a fake Sting costume for some reason. And then Jeff Jarrett shows up. So basically, we have late 90s WCW. And we know how well that worked out for them, pal. Okay. Jarrett shows up, attacks Darby Allin, hits him in the head with a guitar, probably causes more brain damage, but Darby Allin didn't have much of a brain to begin with. And then he cuts a promo. Now, to be fair, Jeff Jarrett wasn't wrong about the AEW fan base calling them delusional and awful. But, okay, now he's been hired as the director of business development. So let's take a look at his track record. Global Force Wrestling, TNA. We know how that worked out well for them. No success as an executive in WWE. So he's had no success as an executive at all, yet Tony Khan brings him on. Genius. Bravo, Tony. Good job. Good job. Tony Mark Khan strikes again. This is worthless. If you look at the comments online, even TNA, there's a Freudian slip there. Even AEW's own fans are turning on Tony like, are you serious? This is your big surprise? Listen, AEW fans are seeing the writing on the wall. This company is in big trouble. And you've got Jarrett on board for a cheap pop. Wow. Good luck. You'll need it. I will say, though, at least he's doing my favorite Jarrett character of all time, the whole Slapnuts thing. That is my favorite Jarrett character. And he's using his best theme music of all time, which is his TNA theme music. So that is fine. But as with everything, this is going to lead to absolutely nothing and is going to backfire in Tony Khan's face. We're seeing the writing on the wall, folks. The beginning of the end of AEW is continuing. So, their world champion is now wrestling second on the show against Lee Moriarty. Fine. What exactly is William Morrissey in AEW for? He's done nothing relevant at all, except being another big man to appear randomly on the show. And of course, FTR, the best tag team in the world, has now been relegated to saving people from beatdowns instead of having competent angles and actually competing for their titles. Like, what is the point? Like, why would anybody want to be a part of this company except for a giant paycheck? Like, I mean, and to be fair, loyalty can be bought pretty easily, but why would anybody who wants to be seen for anything credible in this industry join AEW? Chris Jericho should never be allowed to speak again. Also, if you look, Lamar Jackson looked embarrassed to be there. Side note, pay Lamar Jackson, Baltimore. Pay Lamar Jackson. Sorry. So Colt Cabana is the return, putting butts in the seats, pal. I will say he looks good, and his match with Jericho was okay. And then we get another useless beatdown because apparently the angle with Jericho and Ring of Honor is just so stupid. So is it JAS versus Ring of Honor or JAS versus Blackpool Combat Club, or what is Jericho doing? What the hell is the point of this? We get another useless brawl. This was awful and this was stupid. Random chaos in the All-Atlantic Trios match because why not? Why should I care about this? Who the hell is Katsuyori Shibata? Why should I care about it? Some random person that I've never seen before or have no interest in. If you are a casual wrestling fan, you will have no idea what's going on in AEW. I have no idea what's going on with this company. Tony Mark Khan strikes again. And now we're going to get a match between him and a match between him and Orange Cassidy at Rampage this week, because why not? Sorry, there was a bump in my coffee table, had a little bump. I'll fix it later. Well, it's apropos that my coffee table, something would take a bump while I'm recording something about AEW. Okay. I don't care about Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland at all. Keith Lee needs to go away. Swerve Strickland could work as a heel. Oh my God. Now we get to Marina Shafir. Marina Shafir, why are they letting her on television? And she has an unadvertised match with Jade Cargill, the only undefeated person in the company. I probably should advertise that. But during this match, we get Vicky Guerrero and Nyla Rose at the top of the ramp talking the entire time. Why? What's the point? Nyla Rose hasn't done anything relevant on television in a long time. I mean, what was the point of this? And Vicky Guerrero just out there screaming nonsense for no reason. This was awful. This might have been the second worst segment on Dynamite or on AEW programming in the year, minus the Marina Shafir promo. Oh my God, this was terrible. AEW, all except women, they have no idea what's going on with their women division. It's god freaking awful. And AEW should be embarrassed and ashamed of themselves for what they're doing to women's wrestling. The women in AEW should be ashamed of what's happening with their women's division. There's only one person that's had any relevance in that company since it started, and that's Britt Baker, DMD. Mid. I'm always happy to see Samoa Joe, but this match with Brian Cage was so random. And this is your main event of the show? We didn't even see MJF on television this week. Easily their biggest star. We don't see him on television this week. Bravo. Glad to see Powerhouse Hobbs back always, but where the hell is Ricky Starks? He was just so hot. He was so hot, and him and his stuff with Hobbs was awesome. And then he just disappeared off of television for some random reason. If it lands him in NXT in the Performance Center, fine. Then all about it. But where the hell has Ricky Starks been? He was unbelievable. And now he's just off of television randomly. Terrible booking, inconsistent booking, inconsistency on television. I have absolutely no reason to care at all about this program. The beginning of the end is here, folks. Just you watch. What the hell is wrong with AEW?
This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
Thank you, Sir Royalty. No! Thank you, Brian Carter, for the submission this week. As always, if you guys want to participate in What the Hell's Wrong with AEW, all you have to do is send me an audio clip before our recording sessions, and you can get off what's off your chest, what you need to vent about when it comes to the world of AEW. Oh, God, man. As I told Brian Carter last night, it just amazes me, AEW's ability to lower the bar from the previous week's episode. I guess I start off with the positive stuff, as usually is our tradition here with this segment. I'm happy that Colt Cabana got his moment. I thought that was fine. No qualms there. For the most part, I was fine with the Jon Moxley, Lee Moriarty match. This solid TV match. I thought Moxley was giving a little bit too much to Lee Moriarty, if I'm being honest here. But that was what it was. Nice to see Saraya on my TV as always. Same thing applies to Renee Young, Renee Paquette. And then that's pretty much it. Look, guys, I'm going to call a spade here, man. This show absolutely sucks. It is the drizzling shits. I don't know what's worse. Sitting and typing out this show every single week, or let's say like you're working at Menards or some type of place that's like a 9-hour shift, right? 8 to 5, wherever the traditional time slot is for work days, right? Let's say you're at this place that you don't want to be at. It's like a Friday. And it's that last hour. You just can't wait for it to end. It's the longest hour of the week. It's right in front of your face. Like, get me the fuck out of here. I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. Let me out. You know, like, it's like that period. It's like, let's say like you're in high school and it's a Friday, for example, again. It's like, I can't wait till it's 12 o'clock. Then I'm out this bitch for the weekend. That's how it is for me with this show. It sucks. It's not fun. It's a contradiction to what an alternative looks like in professional wrestling. Stop falling for the hoodwinks. Stop falling for the cap. Stop falling for the bait. This is not an alternative wrestling product. You know what's a good idea? Let's bring in good old Double J. And here's the funny thing about the contradictions and the ass backward thinking of the people in the wrestling Twitter bubble and the double standards. This guy was just on SummerSlam a couple months ago as a special guest referee, and the same people that were marking out for him popping up last night because he smashed Darby out with a guitar are the same people. They're like, really? Jeff Jarrett's the guy you're going to bring in as an attraction for SummerSlam? Really? Is Jeff Jarrett still relevant in wrestling? Like, I got nothing personal against Double J. I'm a fan of his podcast. But again, AEW does no good when it comes to optics and reading the room. What I heard this yesterday, it just popped me because I knew something like this was gonna happen. So I go on Twitter, try to get my information of what I need for the show, not only for the podcast but also for the transfers I had to type out for that night. Right, just following through my P's and Q's. Right. Lo and behold, somebody tells me that Brianna Alvarez had this report on his podcast yesterday, and that somebody in AEW told him that something big is happening, and this is something that everybody's going to talk about this week. Not only did this big thing flop bigger than Joel Embiid last week while he was playing against the Chicago Bulls, or flop bigger than Tom Brady recently in his football games, or flop bigger than freaking Megan Stallion on a weekend trying to get some, you know what? Like, this whole scenario, this big groundbreaking thing is struck in 3 different parts. We had Jeff Jarrett coming in. Now he's trying to demand war on AEW. Secondly, we had Colt Cabana as the revealed guest for Chris Jericho. Again, I love Colt. I'm a fan of his, rep Chicago, all that stuff. I'm a big fan of Colt. But when I don't know if Tony Khan really understands the value of what big means and what that necessitates and what that should generate out of your product. And then 3, this is the funniest part here. Kazuchika Shibata is coming out of his first match since fighting Ren Narita at last year's Wrestle Kingdom. You have Shibata having this match here with Orange Cassidy. What in the ever blue fuck are we doing here? This show sucks. It's the shits. Week in and week out, it gets worse and worse and worse. We got the never-ending saga with Britt Baker and her Napoleon complex and her inferiority complex. Then we have a thread throughout the show where I can't figure out whether I'm covering a Ring of Honor show, an AEW show, a New Japan show, a WCW show, a TNA show. It's all over the place. Tony, do me a favor. Just switch your fucking product and just call it Ring of Honor, because that's what it is at the end of the day. The matches look the same. The angles look the same. You got the same fucking announcers. You got the property. You got the IPs, the logos, the footage, all the shit. Look, I'm sorry, brother. You could try to get another hour of television and call it Ring of Honor on TBS or TNT. But guess what? They're going to draw the same numbers as you get every Friday night on Rampage. And can I ask you guys a question? What are we building towards, Sue? Are we building towards Full Gear, or are we building towards Death Before Dishonor? Because it's funny to me that Ring of Honor is putting almost as much more of an emphasis than your main product. We're coming off like a couple weeks ago, we came off the 3-year anniversary of Dynamite. And ever since then, it's been nothing about Ring of Honor this, Ring of Honor that. Chris Jericho is having Ring of Honor television matches, or Ring of Honor world title matches every single week. The main event we had here this week on Dynamite was Samoa Joe and Brian Cage. Who gave a fuck? When I see that match on paper, I'm like, okay, I'm fine with that. If that was the match you wanted as a Rampage main event or Battle of the Belts, no problem with that. But this is your flagship show. Not only do you start off the show with Jeff Jarrett coming in and declaring war on AEW. What's next? Dixie Carter's going to come in as the head of HR? We're going to have fucking Vince Russo come in as the creative consultant? Jim Cornette's finally going to make his way and make his first AEW appearance? What the fuck are we doing here? We start the show with something that has nothing to do with AEW, and we close out the show with something that has absolutely nothing to do with AEW. What are we doing here? Moxley comes off like he always has, no matter what promotion it is, always comes off as a mid-level second-tier world champion. Chris Jericho looked like absolute dog shit in the ring last night against Cabana. I just call it spade is spade. This whole shtick with the Jericho Appreciation Society, the Ocho, whatever the fuck he's calling himself this week, it sucks. It's stale. Nobody gives a fuck. You can call it the Inner Circle. You can call it the Manga Appreciation Society. You can call it whatever you want. Chris Jericho sucks. He needs to get off the television. This Fountain of Youth bullshit campaign is a fallacy. It's right in front of your face. How long has the fucking January 6th Appreciators been feuding with the Blackpool Comic Club? And what necessitates the heat for Chris Jericho? Oh, he's beating up Ian Riccaboni. Wow, that's awesome, man. I can't really wait to see Chris Jericho get his ass kicked. Guys, I don't give a fuck whether he's on my TV screen or not. That's the problem. That's the issue. This show sucks. Jade Cargill and Nyla Rose in a program nobody gives two shits about. You have Jade Cargill against Marina Shafir. And you have Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero providing commentary on the microphone, on the stage, while you already have a shitty announcer booth talking at the same time. Bad television. Again, for the 10th time now saying in this segment, this show sucked. This company sucks. Tony Khan sucks. Chris Jericho sucks. wow, we're going to stick in the Punk by bringing in Cabana. Okay, you want to be petty about it? Cool. Doesn't bother me. I said it on the podcast before he left and got injured. As far as I'm concerned with CM Punk, I don't want to see him back on my TV, regardless of the promotion, until he clears his fucking head and figure out what he wants to leave his legacy. Because for my favorite wrestler, I don't want that fucking media scrum to be the last thing people remember my favorite wrestler. That guy deserves better than that. And he needs to do a lot of soul searching, because it's also on him for why things went the way it did. Unbearable. And here's the thing, I like Jeff Jarrett. I have no issue with him. But this is the first thing people are watching the show. So, okay, Jeff Jarrett comes into the show. He's now the new manager of business development, something like that. I think that's what his title was. Jeff Jarrett is now declaring role on TV against AEW. The Jericho Appreciation January 6th Appreciators, they are gauging war against AEW. You have the firm, in their own way, having a war against AEW because they feel they're being held down by Tony Khan and stuff like that and yada yada. That's why the firm is together outside of helping out MJF, right? That's the whole gist of it. And then going back to this whole thing with Chris Jericho. Taz, I respect you. I've been a fan of yours for a long time. This is no personal dig towards you. I don't know what agenda he's trying to push when he's marking out for Jericho in his matches every week. It makes no sense to me. It has that vibe of Lawler and Cole looking down on SmackDown when you have the SmackDown versus Raw bragging rights or battle for brand supremacy thing. Is it just here that we're supposed to make it out that AEW takes priority over Ring of Honor, and that Ring of Honor really doesn't mean shit at the end of the day? Hence why we put the title on Chris Jericho in the first place, and that his goal is to desecrate what Ring of Honor is. And now you have your commentator basically telling your audience that the merits of Ring of Honor don't mean shit. You have your color commentator telling you that Ring of Honor doesn't matter. AEW is number one. I thought this is the company that's not going to do the same things that the WWE does. What are we doing here? What am I watching? Which company am I watching? Even for me, the guy that watches 100 hours of wrestling every week can't even follow along with the narratives and storylines of this fucking promotion. And your choices of main events leave something to be desired. This week on Elevation, we had QT Marshall against Danhausen. And on your flagship show, you had Samoa Joe against Brian Cage. Again, that match, Samoa Joe and Brian Cage, that's a match that you have on Rampage. That's not something you close out Dynamite with. Hell, even if you wanted to have the whole Cabana thing against Ring of Honor and have that brawl with the Blackpool Cuckold Club, if you wanted to do that so bad, why wasn't that the main event of the show? It wasn't going to change the format of the fucking show. We know the whole drill. Every match with AEW has an afterbirth brawl. It's the same match every week. We know the drill here. Last night was a reflection of how in-depth this promotion is when it comes to building an identity and putting on a fucking competent wrestling show. That, my friends, is what the hell is wrong with AEW. I feel sorry for people that have to sit there and lie to themselves that this is great and this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Seriously, this is what the hell's wrong with AEW.
Fuck this shit, I'm out. Fuck this shit, I'm out. No thanks, don't mind me. I'ma just grab my stuff and leave. Excuse me, please. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Nope. Fuck this shit, I'm out. Alright then. I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I don't really care. I'ma get the fuck up out of here. Fuck this shit, I'm out.
Alright. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's hard to follow along with the best segment in all professional wrestling podcasting. I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with us for this episode of the Hoots Podcast. As always, if you want to support this show, all you have to do is subscribe to the Hoots Podcast. Anywhere you get your podcast from, subscribe to our YouTube channel at the Hoots Podcast. That's our handle for the YouTube channel. You can follow me on Twitter if you like at the Hoots Podcast. I'm also on Instagram at Josh Lopez Media. Check out ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. Make sure to support Brother Carter's work as well at Derek Stoughton on Twitter at DerekStoughton.com. And check out his work at WrestlingRumors.net. Speaking of Brother Carter, he's coming to you next. But first, as always, I like to remind everybody, be the authentic product that is yourself. Remember, nobody dictates the pace of your life, but yourself and the man upstairs. I hope you guys enjoy Crown Royal this weekend. And the Battle Arm show in Osaka. We'll be here to recap it next week right here on the Hoots Podcast. For everybody, I'm Joshie. This has been episode 334 of the Hoots Podcast. And right now, we're going to send off to the one and only Brother Carter for a brand new edition of the Thoughts of Dericho. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. I'll talk to y'all next week. Yes, sir.
And now, the Thoughts of Dericho. Listen well, man.
Welcome, one and all, to the segment that is the biggest jewel in everybody's crown. It is the Thoughts of Dericho, featuring the one, the only, Brother Carter. I apologize for having to be via satellite this week, but again, as you all know, when you're the director of operations, big things popping, little things stopping, you know what I'm saying? Got some stuff that I gotta do on the day that we usually record the podcast, that Hoots. So I'm gonna have to be via satellite for a couple weeks, but I will do my best to be back with you live and in person when I can. It's a tough time when you're director of operations. Busy stuff going on, but as you all know, I will be back live with you as soon as I can. For this episode of the Thoughts of Dericho, I'll be simply giving my predictions. For the Crown Jewel pay-per-view coming up this Saturday. Should be a fun event. Crown Jewel is always a fun event with, some different kinds of matches and all that good stuff. As of now, the event is still planning to take place. We've heard rumors that there's been some potential threat to United States security in Saudi Arabia right now. So hopefully they'll still be able to have the event as planned. And certainly, of course, we hope that all the WWE superstars and the crew and all that stuff can still travel as planned to do what they need to do to get there. But best wishes to everybody. Safety always comes first. All right, let's get into the predictions. And I'm reading these as of I'm recording this on a Wednesday evening. And so these are the matches, or this is the events listed in reverse order on WWE.com. And so it starts with Bray Wyatt brings mystical energy to WWE Crown Jewel. That should be really cool. I've loved what they're doing with Bray Wyatt recently. He's been one of my favorite characters for a long time, and I've made that known very clearly. I think he's a huge deal, a huge superstar. And I can't wait to see. We've got Uncle Howdy that was introduced on SmackDown this past week. We'll see what they do with that, if there are any more characters that are going to join the stable or something like that. But hopefully we'll see what the plan is for Bray Wyatt going forward at Crown Jewel. But this should be a fun interaction, a fun promo, whatever he's going to do. Should be a ton of fun. The OC, Gallows, Anderson, AJ Styles taking on the Judgment Day. This has been a fun rivalry over these last few weeks. I'm going to take the Judgment Day here. I think it's, you can keep doing a little bit more with this, going into the rounding out the calendar year. So I'm going to take the Judgment Day to get the win here and have them have another match going forward. Next up, we have two big, meaty men going at it. Braun Strowman versus Omos. This should be fun. I'm going to take Omos here. I don't think there's any reason, because with Braun Strowman, you can do more with him even if Omos gets the win here. But if Omos loses, what do you do with him afterwards? They're kind of putting these two guys together to get through Crown Jewel, and then they'll figure out what they're going to do with both of them getting out of it. But I'm going to take Omos to see if we can maybe get one more match out of them at the next pay-per-view or something like that going forward. Drew McIntyre versus Karrion Kross inside of a steel cage. Kross got the first victory the last time they met in the strap match, so at Extreme Rules. So I'm going to take Drew McIntyre to get the victory here to go one-on-one, or to go 1-1 in the series. If they want to do another match between the two of them, they certainly can, the rubber match. I think that'd be fine. But I've got Drew McIntyre extracting his revenge on Karrion Kross inside of a steel cage. at Crown Jewel. WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Alexa Bliss and Asuka won the titles this past week on Raw versus Dakota Kai and Io Sky. By the way, great to see Alexa Bliss and Asuka back. I'm so happy that they're back on the roster. I think they're absolutely incredible, as you know. Obviously winning the titles this past Monday, which was cool. But I'm going to code Dakota Kai and Io Sky winning the titles back at Crown Jewel. I think this was just a way to kind of get some hype to their match and build a little bit more intrigue, get Alexa Bliss and Asuka back on TV. I'm hoping that we'll get to see Alexa Bliss do something with The Fiend, Bray Wyatt at some point. I still think that's been her best character to date. So I'm going to take Dakota Kai and Io Sky to win the titles back. So we'll have to see what happens with that. Should be another great match, as it is, as they've always had. Undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions, the Usos, the Ones, not feeling as Ucey as of late. I'll talk about that promo here in a second. Not feeling Ucey as of late, going against the Brawling Brutes. And I got to tell you, this is a tough one. This is a tough one to decide. I've gone back and forth on this. I'm going to take the Brawling Brutes to win the titles. I think it's time to take to further the dissension amongst the bloodline. I've got the Usos losing the titles to the Brawling Brutes with eventually Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens winning the titles back for the bloodline, and then you have even more dissension amongst the group. So I've got the Brawling Brutes winning the titles here, but it's going to be awesome. Both of these teams are awesome, and it's going to be terrific. Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair versus Bayley in a last woman standing match. This is going to be awesome. Bianca Belair is at the top of her game right now. She's incredible, and we all know how good Bayley is. This should be a war. This should be awesome. I'm going to take Bayley here to retain her title by hook or by crook, probably by crook. Easy way to get her doing something else, or if you want to have another superstar finally getting their opportunity. I've got Bayley defeating Bianca Belair and retaining the Raw Women's Championship. Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, and this should be a war. This should be a ton of fun. I've actually got Bobby Lashley winning here because if Brock Lesnar gets the win, what do you do with Bobby Lashley? So I've actually got Bobby Lashley getting a win here. Obviously, Brock Lesnar is fantastic. He's amazing. But we don't know what Brock Lesnar looks like in Triple H's WWE. Brock Lesnar's just come back, after not sure what was going to happen with Vince McMahon. And now he's just come back recently, kind of randomly on Raw a couple weeks ago, and to challenge Bobby Lashley. So I don't see any reason for Bobby Lashley to lose this match. So I've got Bobby Lashley winning, but this is going to be awesome. I love Lashley. I love Lesnar. This should be good. And your main event of the evening, Roman Reigns versus Logan Paul. Now, this is interesting. Obviously, Reigns is going to walk out with the title, but that doesn't mean he's going to win the match. I could very easily, there's some distraction, get Reigns disqualified, something like that, so that Reigns still has his title, but Logan Paul gets the win. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Reigns is going to win the match because he has to. But don't be surprised if Logan Paul gets the victory, but Reigns walks out with the title. Because then you can do something later on if they get a rematch, and Reigns just knocks Logan Paul silly if they want to keep going with that. I don't know what Logan Paul's schedule is. I'm going to take Reigns to get the win, but that is actually with an asterisk because I very much could see Logan Paul getting the win, but Reigns walking out with his championship. Should be very interesting, but it's going to be a fun showcase for Logan Paul and, of course, for the Bloodline, Roman Reigns, who is the greatest thing in professional wrestling right now. It's not even close. So those are my predictions for Crown Jewel. Should be a fun show. My final thought to everybody this week is do what you need to do to beat Ucey. We all need to be more Ucey this week. Sami Zayn is a national treasure. He had everybody in the ring losing their ever-loving minds and cracking up, not breaking character. It was unfreaking believable. It was so funny. Sami Zayn is a national treasure. Anyone that says that AEW is going to defeat WWE because of what Sami Zayn is doing needs to go hide under a rock because you clearly have no idea what you're doing. I've seen professional wrestling websites who claim to be experts in the business saying that AEW is going to defeat WWE simply because Sami Zayn is cutting this stuff. This is one of the best promos I've seen in a long time, one of the greatest moments. I laughed my ass off. Sami Zayn is a national treasure. The Bloodline is a national treasure. My final thoughts to everybody is, let's all be more Ucey this week.
This has been the Thoughts of Dericho. You're smarter now, man.